fast food workers protesting in 100 cities across the country this week. They're calling for a living wage of $15 an hour.
Today in our society, there's currently an ongoing debate on whether minimum wage should be raised or left alone. But what exactly is minimum wage? Well, minimum wage is the lowest wage permitted by law or by a special agreement, such as one with a labor union. The current national minimum wage is $7.25. But before we choose one side onto whether we should raise it or leave it alone, let's look at both sides of the story.
Minimum wage, I believe that it should be a little higher than it is right now. I know it's at $8 an hour. I work at Wendy's myself, and I know it's a lot of labor, and it's hard, and it's not the easiest thing out there. And gas prices going up, prices of food, everything's going up. So I feel like they should accommodate us with increasing minimum wage. You know, we should be paid for for what we work for. And I think that's just bottom line, and I hope they do. Supposedly July they're supposed to change it, but I look forward to it.
It's interesting because I think, it's constantly changing as the cost of living goes up, minimum wage goes up. I don't know if I would say it's too low right now or that it's too high. I mean, it's kind of hard to judge that. I think a bigger issue to look at is what types of jobs are receiving minimum wage, and then you could kind of factor in, well, then does it seem fair in terms of the amount of work, the amount of...
One side of the debate on minimum wage is that we should raise national minimum wage from $7.25 up to $9 or even $15. Jared Bernstein, economics at the center of the budget and policy priorities, and the economic advisor to the Vice President Biden, states 3 reasons as to why raising the minimum wage would be beneficial to the economy. 1, the simplistic textbook prediction that raising the minimum wage results in job loss has been proven wrong and way too simplistic. There are various ways in which a higher wage are offset that don't include losing jobs, including redistributing profits and adapting prices. 2, even if employers give workers fewer hours, workers' hourly wages would be higher so they could still come away with higher earnings. And 3, an increase is not a luxury or beer money anymore. There are too many people who depend on low-wage jobs to meet their family budget. That is increase is needed, not wanted. And some research also believe that increasing the minimum wage doesn't kill jobs at all, and in fact may even give the economy a boost by channeling more pay to low-income workers who are likely to spend it.
The other side of the debate is that we should leave minimum wage alone, or even get rid of it completely. In 1968, the real value of the minimum wage was $10.65. If there was an increase to $10.50 federal minimum, it would not even bring the minimum wage fully back to the 1968 standard. The average U.S. labor productivity has risen by 135% as well since 1968. Thus, if the U.S. minimum wage had only just kept up with inflation and average labor productivity growth, the minimum wage today would be $25. Kevin Haas, economist at the American Enterprise Institute and former advisor to John McCain and Mitt Romney, states, lifting the minimum wage would result in job loss. A bunch of workers would get bigger checks, while a bunch of workers would have to lose their jobs. Subsidies like the Earned Income Tax Credit would give low-wage earners more take-home pay. The subsidies make it so taxpayers share the burden of supporting workers rather than the workers who lose their jobs due to wage increases. Many people who have little experience get their start at places like fast food restaurants. But if wages are higher, employers are less likely to take a chance on people with less experience because it's a big investment. Fewer people will get a shot at proving themselves.
The other half is that we should abolish minimum wage. But why doesn't this work? Well, the simple fiscal argument for minimum wage legislation goes like this. Both the UK and the US have systems of in-work benefits that top up wages to a level sufficient to live on. So from a firm's perspective, when there is a slack in the labor market, such as unemployment, they have little incentive to pay wages high enough to live on. And from workers' perspective, they have little incentive to demand higher wages, especially if the consequence might be unemployment. If there is no minimum wage, therefore, then the coexistence of unemployment within work